Trade and Perform Coaching, doing the trade review for Thursday, January 9th, 2014, and continuing with an excellent start to the year. So just to quickly legalese, this is for educational purposes only, nothing in the video, the blog, or the Twitter or StockTwits streams should be considered a trading recommendation. Trading futures is aggressive. Make sure you consult a investment professional to make sure it's right for you before you make a decision to trade futures. So that being said, want to talk about a little bit about today. So we were gapping up, and interestingly enough, there was a couple of differences in the last couple of days. The first thing that I had mentioned in this morning's video, market preview, was that one of the things I was looking for, right, was to key off of NQ and whether it was going to be leading ES or not leading ES, right? And the other thing was, well, we're going to continue with these open drives that we've been having for the last couple of days. To give you a quick picture of that, I'll just pull this up really quick, all right? So this is ES, and we'll just pull up a 5-minute chart. And on that chart, you can see for the last couple of days, right, the opens on ES have been rather tranquil, right? If we look going back to the last couple of days, we opened, we traded to the downside. We had an opening, a gap, and then rally up. We opened, we moved down, right? And today we were gapping. But NQ, on the other hand, has been leading us to the upside consistently, right? If you look at the same charts on NQ for the last 2 days, we had very clear moves to the upside that were leading ES, right? Specifically what I'm talking about is this and this move here, right? We quickly rejected gap fill and moved to the upside, and it kind of was dragging ES along with it, right? Also of note was that on these 2 days, while NQ was continuing to move up, ES really wasn't following in its strongest suit to the upside, right? So today we got another gap up in NQ, and if it looked like the previous gap ups we've been getting, you would think, well, we're going to get moves, you know, gaps, maybe a slight fill, and then a move to the upside, right? Which is what people were thinking right here, was that we would get a continuation like this. Okay, so if we look, really this is the first day that ES had gapped significantly along with NQ, so that was a little bit of a different look and kind of gave people the idea that we might have a trend day up. If we look at what we actually end up with, right, the first sign that there was trouble right out of the gate was that NQ, instead of gapping up, doing the gap fill, which it did right here, right, you can see that we had gap fill. It couldn't get back over the highs very quickly. As a matter of fact, it spent the whole first half hour, right? And then this move right here, right, was the first real indication that there was trouble. And I said if NQ wasn't leading us to the upside, it was unlikely that we were going to get any upside with ES. And so this was the first sign that we needed to be cautious on ES to the long side. I stated as much, right? So obviously everyone can tell that we traded all the way down. The other thing that I had mentioned in the market preview, and again to get an idea of how we set up to trade this, right? If we look at ES, I had said that if we get below and into the prior day's range, which would be the beef of this area here, right? If we fell into the range, that we were very likely to travel to the other end of the range, right, and test it. And sure enough, right, you can see how we rejected out of this white zone, and if you took this aggressive trade, right, I didn't call this out, but if you took this aggressive trade, you were able to garner 2 points. It wasn't the ideal setup, okay? But I did mention out here that because we consolidated above the zone, it made the back or middle of the zone more questionable. I would not be taking a trade if we moved in again, and that proved very helpful because at this point, right, NQ was already trading well into the prior day's range, and it did just what it's done on the other days by pulling ES up. It pulled NQ down. I want to make sure that I'm keeping track of my time here. I don't want to go overly long, right? So sure enough, we fell back into the range right here. Also the white zone, right? The white zone determined where buyers are in control. 2 things that you need to know about the white zone. First of all, The further you get from the white zone, the less influence it has. The closer you are to it, right, the more influence it has. First time into the white zone, rejects out for 2 points. We consolidated right above, we fell in. The white zone has done its job at this point. We're now underneath the white zone, and you'll notice that all day long, right, the white zone acted right up into the close, acted as resistance all day, and a great trade location if you wanted to look to the short side of the trade. I also mentioned, right, that if we fell, if you were part of that, that if we fell back into the range, that we were likely to test the bottom end of the range. That's exactly like what we did, and that most commonly the day before non-farm payrolls that we were going to trade sideways. And that's exactly, if we move this over, that's exactly what we got, right? We opened, we fell back into the range, we traveled to the bottom end of the range, and then we started ping-ponging, right? And we ended up with a balanced day. If you look at the profile, this is a balanced profile on the day, okay? And obviously you had potential, it fell a little short of a short here, and if you had more time, again, I don't take trades in the last hour, I imagine we would have rejected lower here had there been any time left in the day. As it was, we ran out of time. I don't take trades for the most part in the last hour. In addition, we had tick divergence moving into this area right here. We were at the bottom of the range. We had great range extension, right, from the top to the bottom, okay? And we had, we also had tick divergence here. We fell a little short of the zone, and we had tick divergence right here at 1834 on this move into the back. Again, there was no time left to take advantage of it. So again, good rotations up in each of these cases, right, to take shorts to the short side. And the concept of the balanced day made sense of taking shorts as we zigzag between these 2 points and taking longs. You had tick divergence here as well with a nice rotation too. So I basically just spit back exactly what I laid out before the market opened. I didn't expect us to break down. I didn't expect us to run. I expected us to balance, which we got after an initial move to the downside. I talked about time, right? After 9:30 a.m., shorts have a more difficult time continuing pushing in this bull market that we've been experiencing, and we did get the rotation up from there, right? I'm going to clean this up now. I'm drawing pictures all over the place. And then also, if you look at NQ, right? Let's just take a quick, brief look at that. Okay, so NQ on a 5-minute chart. Okay, we gapped up. As soon as you saw us, or we got to this point right here, you knew something had changed about the quality of this day, and you should have, if you were playing to the long side, you should have taken your losses right there. We needed to hold above on the gap, right? You'd already had gap fill, attempt multiple times to bounce off of it, and it's failed at that point. It's most logical that we trade to the bottom end of the prior day's range. That would bring us, right, if we look at the lows, right down to this purple line, okay? And you can see we broke a little bit below it, right down to that 35.40. And if you look at that 35.40, it was actually the last pivot we had right here. It was a very small resistance area. Normally, I would have thought they would have brought it back down to this yellow area. They didn't. You could see with the tick divergence, the reason I keyed off of and was able to take this long from 35.40 was I was keying off of the divergence in ES. That's an aggressive way to figure out what trade you're going to take in NQ. But I find the signals that I get in NQ for reversals much more reliable in ES than I find the signals for ES reversal. Okay, and you'll also notice that I left myself plenty of room, right, to work our way towards initial support in case it got down there and still let the trade work. I called out this trade in real time. Everyone had plenty of time if you wanted to some reason blindly follow me on it, right? There was a great entry right there, and you had a whole 15 minutes to grab that entry if you wanted to. And most importantly, right, when you're trading, notice we're buying right into the teeth, right, of the selling. I had another client, and he knows who he is, my U.S. Air Force man, who took this trade right here and let me know, right? He came up with a nice 4-point trade right to the upside, right outside of the top of the white zone. Again, the white zone serving the exact same purpose, right? Buyers are in control above, sellers below. First time into the zone, buyers responded by pushing it up for a reasonable size trade, right? Second time in, we consolidated right above the zone. We finally broke, right? And if you wanted to continue to play this, if you didn't want to play the long side, right, all you had to do is wait for a nice rotation back up into the white zone first time in. Gave you a beautiful rotation back down. And then this, by the way, if you want to highlight it, and again, I think I'm within a reasonable time frame here still. If you want to highlight this, this is the lows of the day right here, right? Anytime you see us move in, my friend Tony at Trader Smarts calls that a bill move, brother-in-law, right? What do? You sink it down just long enough to call your brother-in-law and let him in, and then bring it back on top, right? Once we got it, now that you'll all see that, once that we got it back above these lows right here, right? You can see that late sellers were trapped and emotional sellers who bailed out of the position were trapped, and they were able to push it right back up. And this is a beautiful 10-point trade. This is a big deal right here, guys. If you can capture that, that's $200 a contract. So from a coaching standpoint, right, we knew exactly what we wanted to do because we had certain parameters. I set clients up to know what happens the day before non-farm payroll in general, right? So this way we don't get lost in the minutia of the price action and make panicky decisions, right? Instead, we expect balance, which we got the majority of the day. We knew that after 9:30, the market would have a difficult time, and particularly between that 9:30 and 10 o'clock, right? That the market tends to have a hard time, and I tweeted out, time of day is favorable to us, right? That they have a hard time continuing pushing, and sure enough, I got a nice rotation up. I actually only made 5 points on this trade, but that's all right. That's $100 a car on my second half. And I made, I think, no, that's right. I made 2 points on my first scale and 5 points on my second scale. So my average was under 5, but on the second half I got 5. That's a nice trade for me. I'll take it every day, right? And what are we trying to do, right? We're trying to get the point where our opponents are exhausted from selling, and we're trying to capture the rotations we know we have the highest odds of capturing and putting profits into our account. The objective is twofold. First of all, we only want to look for high odds trades, right? Which means that trades that kind of look pretty good, but they're not the highest odds. And yes, we have methodology for tracking which trades those are. We're taking a pass on those. Sometimes they're profitable, sometimes they're not. It can be very frustrating as a trader to keep flipping your P&L, right? One day positive, one day loser, one day winner, one day loser, or 1 week winner, 1 week loser. That really sucks. I like putting profits in on a consistent daily, day-by-day basis, controlling the downside, right, and lowering stress and anxiety by having the entire trade process already pre-mapped so that there's not very much for us to think about through the course. If you don't have to think, you don't ask questions. If you don't ask questions, right, questions lead to uncertainty because you're asking what are the possibilities. If you have uncertainty, uncertainty leads to fear. Fear tends to lead to poor trading decisions and losses. My goal is to bring traders from being frustrated from break-even and or losing traders to consistent traders. Very simple, very straightforward, and I think it makes a lot of sense. At any rate, I hope everyone had a great day. If you have any questions, you can reach me at Trade and Perform Coaching. It's tradeandperform@gmail.com. You can hit me on Twitter or StockTwits. I am here to help traders out. That's the entire point of this project because it's become a little exhausting. But the point is to get people trading profitably. And I can actually say all my current coaching clients are all profitable across the board on a consistent basis. And that is really kick-ass. So at any rate, have a great day. Have a great night. And I will see y'all in the morning with the pre-market look. We'll talk to y'all soon.